It's a funny old game, football. Just got to love it. Got to love it. I say with absolutely no enthusiasm whatsoever. Celtic won, Dundee United won. I'm not going to bother reading out some of the stats about the start to the season and where we are as a club at the moment, because they do make for embarrassing reading, we know that. And we can sit and read stats all day, but I just want to talk about the game itself today. I don't want to talk about how many points we've got from our opening 7 games and all the rest of it. We'll talk about the game, the result, the performance from Celtic and Dundee United today. And a game which, I'll be completely honest in saying, was painful to watch. The quote that I used on Twitter was a painfully abysmal performance. Very quickly, before we go any further with the video, please make sure to check out the top line of the description and download the OneFootball app via my link if you somehow want to go and recap yourselves of that performance today and any other performance you fancy. I don't know if you want to, but the top line of the description is where you can find the link. There's a lot of question marks hanging over the heads of everyone at Celtic in regards to not just today, the build up to this day, but a lot of question marks that we need to talk about in all seriousness, and some include the manager, his decision making. He's not exempt from everything. More particularly today, I want to talk about the players and the question marks over their heads, because apart from Joe Hart, who I think can maybe leave today's game with his head held a little bit higher, maybe Jota to an extent as well, I thought he was pretty good. Every single player on the park today was pretty shit, just to put it bluntly. I could sit here and try and analyse it with language that makes myself sound more intelligent or whatever, but it was shit. Generally, the team were absolutely shocking today. From start to finish. First 15-20 minutes, thought we looked okay, especially with the chances we were creating in the first 5-10 minutes. We got ourselves the goal, but as soon as they got themselves back into the game, from that moment on, you would never think that Celtic were trying to get back in the league today. Dundee United, a side who I think have scored 3 or 4 goals in the league this season, looked like they were more threatening when they went forward. I know we hit the bar 3 times, we were unlucky with that, but generally the vibe I got from Celtic today is, they weren't bothered. Everybody seemed to be half-arsing it, and there was a lot of problems on that park. And as I've already said, it was just a painful watch. I don't know what the team were trying to do at points. It seemed like a lot of guessing and hoping for the best, but I had such a throwback to last season. That Neil Lennon system of just doing stuff for the sake of it and hoping for the best was really the sort of viewing I was getting from today's game. It seems like when we cross balls into the box and we go out wide and we try passes and that, we're doing it with the idea of, someone will get on the end of it. We're not doing it with the sort of, head up, look for the empty man, or someone's making a smart run. We're doing it out of hoping for the best. That was the vibe I was getting from the Celtic performance today. And there was a lot of players who, this is sort of the frustrating thing. So Celtic and us as fans, and every fan is you'd be pretty naive if you didn't say you do this as a football fan. A lot of us as football fans see a couple of good performances from players and we go and we get our heads turned and we're like, yeah, great. There's a lot of performances today that raise question marks on players, and I think as football fans we're naive to do the same thing on the opposite side. We look at a couple of bad performances and we start to throw them away to the side and say they're not good enough. That is very easy to do, but there is players on that part today that make me go, they are not good enough. I think Turnbull and Rogic today were standouts for me in the department of a couple of bad performances and you're ready to go. But they too weren't good enough, and we'll come on to them. But 2 players in particular, the 2 players playing in Callum McGregor's role at the moment, James McCarthy and Ismaila Soro. Ismaila Soro's footballing ability is just masked by a nice smile. It really is. I want to love Soro, and I do love Soro, and he's someone who I want to see get better at Celtic as time goes on. But today in that second half, he's showing that he's just not up to the standard. And I'll be the first to admit that I was sitting here in this chair when he broke into the team a year ago, giving it he's this, that, and the next thing. It was great. But he was. When he first broke into the Celtic team, he was genuinely a good player. But it feels like from that point on, he's not improved. He's got worse. And maybe we were a bit naive as fans just because we were so bad at that point in time to think that he was looking good. But he has got worse from that moment in my eyes. And today was a real kind of culmination of that. James McCarthy is so far off the mark, it's unbelievable. A signing that I questioned anyway, one that I wasn't particularly happy about. I a 4-year contract for a guy who was hooked at half-time today for whatever reason. I don't know if it was because of the knock that he took in the first half, if it was just down to his general performance. He's someone who does not come in and add quality to this Celtic team at the minute. And I don't care about his past as a Premier League player, as an Irish international. At the moment, he's nowhere near good enough to be playing for Celtic. I don't know how long that's going to take to change and what it's going to take to change, because there's only so much time you can put into a player and saying, yeah, he'll be good when he's fit. I feel like McCarthy, the vibe I'm getting is a guy that's just never going to be fit. He's not been fit for a long time. So, I think there's major question marks over those two players in particular from today, but there was players on that park, the likes of Rogic, the likes of Turnbull, who we know can be so good and have just been so gash, so frustrating over the past few weeks. Rogic in particular, I am so frustrated watching him. The last 3-4 games, he has done my head in. Decision making has been woeful. He's holding on to the ball too much. He doesn't know when to move it. And when he does move it, he's moving it to the wrong person, or he's giving the ball away. Turnbull's been just as bad. He doesn't get off any lighter for the last 2 games, I think. He's been just as bad the past few games. And it's not like I want to come out and just throw players under the bus. And I know these are good players. I know that Turnbull is a cracking player. I know that Rogic on his day can be a brilliant player. But you need these players to stand up in games like this. You can't be dropping points to Dundee United at Celtic Park when you're off the back of a loss last week. And the forum, if you want me to drop the stat in now, we've won 2 of our last 7. 2 of our last 7. You need players like Turnbull and Rogic to turn up in games like this. No matter how good they are, it doesn't matter unless they step up and they score a winning goal when you're 1-0 with Dundee United. And we just looked as though we weren't going to show that. I know I've touched on the hitting the bar 3 times, but hitting the bar 3 times was a kind of out of nowhere moment. It was a kind of like, we've hit the bar. I didn't feel like we were building to it. There was nothing to suggest that was coming. So there was nothing to me that was suggesting a goal was coming either. So, you need players like that to step up, and we didn't have it today. It was a very, very poor performance, and the manager, I want to talk about his comments for a moment. No, look, Ange Postecoglou is still back, and this is a process that's going to take a while, and I've been saying that from day one. My expectation wasn't for us 7 games in to be top of the table, flying and all the rest of it. I expected us to be doing a little bit better, I'll be honest in saying that, but I understand that this is situation as well. Look, we lost another one of our signings today to injury, had to go off, Juranovic. The luck that Ange has had in that sense has been abysmal. He's not had the chance to play his best team. He's been working with a board who didn't recruit enough players. It has been a really tough start for Ange in that regards, but he isn't exempt from all criticism. One of his comments from after the game, though, did boggle me. So after the game, Ange Postecoglou said, "We're disappointed with the outcome, obviously, but in terms of our approach to the game and the way we played, the manner and how we took the game to them, I think it's exactly what our supporters want to see." I'm not having that one today. Not today. Absolutely not. A bizarre comment to make. We were woeful. And I spoke to a couple of people walking back from Celtic Park, and they were asking about the performance and such, and I was brutally honest in saying one of the worst I can remember in recent years at Celtic Park, and in terms of league football anyway. I don't know what Ange's saying today. If he's pleased, he's pleased, but I'm not buying that one. Although one comment I did like from Ange after the game was talking about how the panic stations are coming now, and 7 games in, people are calling the league and all the rest of it. Yeah, it's a hard one to gauge. But we know what we're like. We're a fickle support. It's the same in both sides of this rivalry. You're never going to please everyone. Not even got on to the 3 things yet. It's been a long one, and there is actually 3 things that I want to bring up. Well, I think that I've kind of mashed a lot of it into one there. I think the first thing we've learned is we need players to step up in these games. We need Turnbulls and Rogic's. Right now, they're not performing in these games. It was the same at Livingston last week. Games that you look at and go, yeah, we should be winning. We should be beating bottom of the league Livingston. We should be beating joint bottom scorers Dundee United. These players aren't taking them seriously enough. They're not stepping up. That's the first thing I think. I've mashed that into sort of one. The second thing that I want to talk about is, and I don't want to be that guy, I really don't, because I hate doing this, but I think that we are missing Ryan Christie severely. And yesterday's performance at Bournemouth enhances that a little bit, because he got 2 amazing assists. But since he's left, there has been a real lack of creativity in this team, a real lack of it. And Christie was giving it from both wings, he was giving it from the middle as well. We miss him. We do. And he was someone who did split split the support so much. And I will say he was indefensively bad last season. But in regards to what he was doing under Ange Postecoglou at the start of this season, we're missing that. Now, I know he kind of vanished as well in the derby, but we're missing that creativity at the moment. We're missing the passes that he could give, the sort of imagination that he had as a player. I don't think anyone else possesses that at the moment. And Christie's someone who right now in games like today can unlock something and can build to something. And I think we're missing that. I really do. And the third thing, I've just got to do this quickly. It's been a long video, so let's get it over and done with. And I don't want to talk about the negative results as much as I want the positive results. The positive results. The third thing is, we really need Kyogo back. Here's where I wanted to talk about Ajeti. I want to love Ajeti, and my patience is wearing very, very thin. It was someone who I think was building the confidence up a little bit against Ross County and then even Betis. He looked really good in both of those games. But the last couple, he's offered nothing. And that's where the manager has to make a change as well. You have Moffat on the bench today, maybe even bring him on. He was doing nothing. And when that's happening over the course of 70, 80 minutes, you've got to think about making a change. Ajeti he wasn't making any interesting runs. He wasn't moving into areas. I feel like he was just very, very vacant in his position. And we really need Kyogo back in there. We really do. But the problem is now we've become so reliant on that, and that's an issue at Celtic. The fact that we do rely on individuals far too much, and then when they get injured or they're not available to play, we're stuck in this same purgatory all the time, and it's so frustrating. But we need Kyogo back. We need the wee man back in the team, because he makes such a difference, and Ajeti is not bringing that at the moment. Granted, I think his service has been very poor as well in the last couple of games, but Ajeti needs to step up and do things too, and he's not been doing it in the last couple of games. So, we need to be Kyogo back in that team. We really do. And there was no denying that when he first got injured, we wanted Kyogo back in, but now more than ever, I want you. Give me freedom, give me fire, give me Kyogo or I retire. Just get it done. And that does it. Like and subscribe. Poor start in the opening 7 games, you could say. We'll see where we go from here. See you all next time.